As I continue to plug away at my Into the Spider-Verse review, which should be up actually at this point tomorrow, I wanted to take a very short look at something really interesting. Now, I know that a lot of you know at this point, whether you like this franchise or not, that I'm a big fan of Assassin's Creed. I have my criticisms, I have my games that I like the most, but overall, I've really enjoyed pretty much all of these games in different ways. Assassin's Creed Mirage was promised to be a return to the roots of the series. There was recently a developer commentary from Ubisoft talking about basically that idea of going back to their roots, and it's something I wanted to talk about for just a couple of minutes today because to me, this is looking very promising. Now, before we hop into it, if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Assassin's Creed is something that does have a fairly constant presence on this channel because it is one of my favorite video game series, and lately I've been going back and playing through the series and just having a really fun time and making videos about the games kind of as I go. Those videos aren't always shown to my subscribers and especially aren't shown to people outside of this channel, so if you enjoy that kind of content and want to support it, it does mean the world to me if you check it out. In this Ubisoft developers commentary, one of the things that I thought was really cool was how they talked about how the whole goal of this was to kind of harken back to what made Assassin's Creed special in the first place. Obviously, as franchises go on, they will change some over time. Some people will like those changes, others obviously won't, but I think the problem comes when you kind of back yourself into a corner, which Ubisoft did, where they went so far from what the original, I would say, 5 games really were, that they didn't really ever provide any options for people who were fans of those games specifically to keep playing new games. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that they couldn't play the new games that are very different. What I mean is Ubisoft is a massive, massive company that is obviously very committed to this franchise in particular, but even though they were committed to this franchise, they weren't making both styles of games. They would kind of move further and further away from the classic style of game while not making any more of them. And I don't think this ever would have been a problem if you had just done both. And that's kind of what it seems like the design philosophy is with Mirage, is to make this classic game while they also make other games on the side that are different. And that's kind of what I think this always should have been if you're going to change your franchise significantly, is you offer options to players who love the original feel and also players who kind of want to change with the series and go different directions and try new things with it. You offer those too. We got to see a lot more gameplay snippets that I thought looked really fun, and many different developers actually talked about how this is based a little bit more on verticality in order to bring back the Ezio trilogy feel of climbing. Now, when they say the Ezio trilogy feel, this is something I really hope they are actually committed to. And the reason I say that is because over time, I loved the climbing of these games, but I think they started to get a little too automatic. And I know that Unity is pretty much everyone's favorite. When climbing comes up, people will say it flows so well, it's brilliant. And I really do think it does, but I still think at that point it was getting very automatic, where pretty much it was just holding a button and the character would do absolutely everything for you. And it looked beautiful and it ran very well, and it is a great climbing system that I do think needs to come back. But I also do think that there was something to be said of AC1 through AC Revelations. It was a very thoughtful climbing process compared to what the series became. Back in those classic games, it was more about thinking on where to go next, especially with the viewpoints. Some of them were actually handled like miniature puzzles. You weren't really thinking about things that way anymore, you were just holding up. So if this is something they're actually committed to, is going back to that classic feeling for climbing, that I really am happy for that. And you don't need to do that in every game. You can have different styles of climbing for different characters, and you know what? That makes sense that different assassins and hidden ones, they'd climb differently. They're not all going to move the exact same. Their bodies are not all the exact same, and neither are their mindsets. But if you're never going to allow people to go back to that classic climbing other than just playing the first few games, that's kind of a disappointment to fans. So to see this return is something really cool to me. They also showed that vaulting is back again, and that they made an actual effort to make Basim move faster, obviously, than Ivor did. Now that's a good thing, because in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you are playing pretty much as a warrior, okay? And there's a lot of stuff about reincarnation and the Isu and the First Civilization, all that stuff. And you're more tank-like in that game in a lot of ways. And because of that, certain things were a little bit lost that people really enjoyed from this franchise. Things like stealth were not nearly as prominent as they used to be because the RPG era focuses more on stat-based weaponry. Things like vaulting, quickly and moving quickly through environments was not as prominent as it used to be. So because of that, that was disappointing to a lot of people who like that feeling of a classic Assassin's Creed. And it really does look like Mirage is making an actual effort to bring that back to the franchise. They've been working a lot on enemy detection, which is really important because this game is actually focused on bringing stealth back. And I know that's something that a lot of people really missed. That's something that the RPG era, in my opinion, was really lacking. There is stealth and there are stealth options, but at the end of the day, you are playing, again, more tank-like. At least I would say in Valhalla and a little bit in Odyssey as well. Over time, a lot of these elements of hiding in plain sight, blending with the crowd, social stealth, those kinds of things, they were pretty lost on the franchise, and they're making an actual effort to bring those things back. They showed real gameplay of blending in with crowds in this developer commentary, which I thought was really, really cool. That's something that I've really missed from Assassin's Creed, and it's something that matters. Social stealth is a really cool element of the classic franchise, and it's something that you need in order to feel like an assassin. Remember the idea of being a blade in the crowd? That's something that mattered to fans of this franchise, and it's something that it looks like the character of Basim actually really cares about. Stealth was really prioritized in the development of this game when they were talking about it, and I know that it's going to be a different development team when it comes to something like Splinter Cell versus something like Assassin's Creed Mirage, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that, well, if they don't understand stealth here, they can't there. But I do think that if the team here can't pretty much show Ubisoft proper, the publishers above them, how the stealth works and actually get it working, then Ubisoft is never really going to fully value stealth again. And that's something that does matter to a lot of players. People like stealth games, and there are options out there for them, but that doesn't mean that those options of gameplay should be ripped out of franchises that they mattered in. It's something I hope to see a lot more of in this franchise going forward, and I do think even the more RPG games could do a little bit better of a job with stealth. I don't think it's atrocious in them like some people act like it is, like it's not there at all, it's just horrible. But I don't think it's really what it used to be. It's not a social stealth system. It's not really any of that. It's more just kind of like sneak around, try not to get seen by the guy. Oh, I did get seen? Well, I have the best sword in the world. I have like Thor's hammer at this point. I'll just destroy him. This game, while Basim is good at combat, the developers even talked about how Basim is he's not a tank. He's not going around trying to start fights. This is a character a lot more like the old assassins, like Altair or Ezio, where fighting is something they're good at, but it's not something they purposely seek out right away. And that's something important because that rewards players for how they play, and that actually makes them feel like they're doing something when they do sneak through an area and actually are able to kill people that way, instead of just running headfirst in and taking them on that way. Which over time, even the classic Assassin's Creed games became very, I would say, easier to just kind of tank through if you wanted to do that. So that's not just an RPG era problem. It's also just a problem with the gameplay becoming more fluid and just the assassins being so skilled. So to actually reward the player for doing that and tie it into the personality of Basim is something that I really like from this, and it's something that I'm really excited for. I do want to say, kind of closing here, I understand that I could be setting myself up for disappointment by buying into a game based off of promises that Ubisoft is making. Ubisoft is the king of promises, okay? And I understand that. Back in the day with the Watch Dogs disaster, when they revealed it and completely downgraded the game before release, I understand that they are the kings of making promises and not always following through. But it really does look to me like the development team is really trying with this game to bring back that classic feel. They even talked about bringing a filter to the game, which I know it's just a filter, but where it actually allows you to play the game as if it's Assassin's Creed 1. You can play the game in this desaturated look, like the original game with a desaturated color palette. This is designed to be a celebration of what the original Assassin's Creed games are. And the reason that I hype this game up and I'm talking about it is because if we ever want Assassin's Creed to go back to the way it was in any meaningful form, it's important to support it when it does do that. And that's kind of something that I think is often missed by fans, is they will say, well, this thing isn't what it used to be, I don't care anymore. But then sometimes when franchises try and go back to what they cared about, they're like, well, sorry, I don't care anymore. You didn't do that early enough. And I understand that people lose interest in stuff, but for me, I really do think that there's room for both types of game. And there are players like me, I know that we're kind of rare, I guess, because a lot of people love one side and don't like the other. Like a lot of people came in at Origins, and they're not a fan of the classic games. And in the other side, a lot of people played the classic games and they're not a fan of post-Origins, or some don't even like Origins. I think that there are a lot of players like me who enjoy both, but even if you're not like me and you don't enjoy both, I truly think that there's room in this franchise to make both styles of games and make both well. I don't think you have to rush these things out. I don't think you have to really shove them out and push them out there and jam them down people's throat. I think you need to do what it looks like Mirage is doing. Take your time, build the style of game you want to build around that the community enjoys, take community feedback from what they liked, and build stuff based around that. And that's why I've been talking about Mirage more, and I am excited for it, because yes, like I said, I could be setting myself up for disappointment, but at the end of the day, if their goal is to go back, honor original Assassin's Creed, and maybe revive that style of game, that's something that I personally want to support, and I hope that more franchises do that. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below. What were your thoughts on what they showed and what they talked about? Do you agree that this looks exciting? Do you not? Are you thinking this is going to be empty promises? I am genuinely interested in all opinions down there below. If you did enjoy today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. I appreciate you all very much, and if you're interested in more Assassin's Creed content, I have been putting a lot of it up on the channel, and I do have a playlist of Assassin's Creed videos, and I also do have my secondary channel, my Let's Play channel, where we play through games podcast style, which is Degenerate Plays, and recently my friend Nate and I have been playing through Assassin's Creed Brotherhood over there, so if you're interested in that, the link to that channel is also down below in the description. Have a fantastic day, and as always everyone, stay shway.